Thank you for joining me on another episode of She Leads Now podcast, where we help career and entrepreneurial women gain the tools to develop a success mindset, create winning strategies, build collaborative relationships, and take bold action towards creating impact and fulfillment in their lives and careers. I'm your host, Sabine Gideon, and I'm on a mission to awaken and activate women and emerging leaders so they can tap into their innate leadership ability, elevate their influence, and create the impact they were destined to make. If you're ready to uplevel your confidence, courage, and influence, you've come to the right place. Join me weekly for insights, strategies, and resources to help you grow, develop, and embody the leader you were meant to be, so that you can make the impact you know you are called to make and establish the legacy you've always dreamed. The world eagerly awaits the emergence of your brilliance, impact, and influence. So with that, let's dive into this week's episode. Hello, and welcome to another episode of She Leads Now. I'm your host, Sabine Gideon. Welcome to the show, Sanà.
Thank you, Sabine, for having me.
Absolutely. I'm so excited to have this conversation. We have been connected on LinkedIn for years. And I tell people all the time, I've been part of HR Girlfriends since I want to say when it started. And, you know, LinkedIn doesn't really promote its groups as much, but HR Girlfriends is the only LinkedIn group that I am actively involved in and that I will actively recommend to people. So it's exciting to be able to chat with the founder of this amazing movement and organization. So with that, before we get into HR Girlfriends and what you do, I was kind of rushing there. Tell us a little bit about you, about your journey, and what made you even decide to launch HR Girlfriends.
Oh, wow. The journey. Let's see. I would always tell people that HR Girlfriends was the beautiful accident, and I was minding my business, getting my HR career fully off the ground. And I was at a DC Sherm happy hour, and a job seeker who I am now good friends with said, "Have you ever heard of HR Girlfriends?" I was like, nope. And I was also like, I don't want to know. And that was because I had just started my first HR director role for a government contractor. And in Washington, D.C., it is uber important you get your hands dirty in the government in some way. And so I was excited about this new role and did not want to take on anything else, including joining anything else. But I had heard from this job seeker who I hit it off with about 2 weeks later, and she said to me in a text, "Hey, how you doing? Did you look up HR Girlfriends?" I said, "Well, I must need to know what this group is because she keeps asking." Long story short, I Google it. I realized that it is a meetup.com group, and the rest is history. I reached out to the organizer. I got excited in my gut. I said, "Ooh, it looks good." So I realized that HR Girlfriends was a dormant group, and I wanted to do more with it. She handed over the reins, and I took over, and we're celebrating our 10th year anniversary this year. And I'm excited. And what you experience every day in that LinkedIn group and other things that we do is a testament to the spirit and the energy of the women of HR. I just facilitate the ecosystem. I try not to give myself too much credit, but the women of HR won't let me not take the credit. So it's a beautiful thing.
I love that. I love that. So tell us, because obviously it sounds like your trajectory was, I'm in HR, employed, and I'm going to stay there. What was that catalyst for you that said, okay, you know what? Maybe entrepreneurship is my next path?
Well, funny enough, I truly believe that most people who end up in entrepreneurship have always, at some point in their lives, had tugs at them, right? Coattail tugs. That it doesn't happen overnight. And my coattail tugs, I can remember, were watching Oprah when I was about 21, and Sarah Blakely, who started Spanx, was on. And in that same show, there was another gentleman who was running $1 million handyman business that he called Rent a Husband. And, and they were talking about taking these ideas from nothing and bringing them to something. And I kept saying, what's my idea? And I had a notepad in my hand and I couldn't think of anything, but I was inspired. Right. And so you think about that tug at 21, fast forward, more than a decade, 15 years later, to where I was starting HR Girlfriends into what it is today. And so I think entrepreneurship was always in me because even about 10 years prior to HR Girlfriends, I became a homeowner, but not for the purposes of living in the home. I wanted to be a landlord. And so I had dabbled in different areas of business and entrepreneurship, but I wasn't at the pinnacle. I wasn't where I said, this is the business. This is where I'll be challenged. This is where I'll really get my feet and hands wet and where I'll get it right. I'll leave corporate, the W-2 world. But HR Girlfriends, I knew there was something about it. I knew that this was going to be it. But even when I knew, I didn't know. Because when I took over the ad hoc community and then subsequently turned it into a legal entity, I was like, holy cow, what am I going to offer the world? What's my differentiator? What are they going to pay me for? I mean, I didn't know. I had no idea. And that was the challenge.
So it's funny you said it was a challenge. It gave me a flashback to when I was in corporate and how I always wanted a challenge, right? Like I always took on, the projects that my manager used to call them DOTS, development opportunities that suck. So I was always looking to grow and develop, right? And it's funny, you just said challenge. And up until this moment, it just kind of clicked for me that that's exactly what entrepreneurship is. Like, it was like this wanting and this desire to be challenged in so many different ways that led me to this path. And I also have that story of it was Laurel Langmeyer in her book. I forget what it was, but it sparked in me that desire to step into entrepreneurship. And boy, is entrepreneurship a challenge. So I guess in retrospect, I created what it was that I wanted or manifested it. So I think this is a fascinating story, right? Because oftentimes, even when I was in corporate America, as I would think about the day where like I was, my own boss and had my own business and this, that, and the third, there was still this part of me that was just like, well, what am I going to do? Like, what are my skills? Right. Meanwhile, I clearly was demonstrating skills every single day. But when it came to how do I translate that into actual making, creating a business, it was blank. So you went from taking something that was a casual meetup to an online platform to now this consultancy that has been, growing over these last 10 years. Like, what happened? Like, how did you get there? How did you make those moves to make that happen? I know it wasn't overnight, right? And I know you had other people, but, for those who are just sitting there thinking like, what's my idea and how do I get it to that end point? What were some of those pivotal steps or pivotal moments for you in that transition to building what you've built out so far?
I think one of the things that I can remember was just focusing on the one thing. And in the beginning, the one thing was community building. That was all I was doing. That was the one thing, because now looking back, it was the community building that has been the foundation for the success of everything else. Because now that I have community, now I have built-in customers who are now the built-in audience, right? And so they're also the built-in refers, all the things that people tell you are the keys to success for business, in which they are. That was my one thing. And so I remember when I took over the ad hoc group, I said, okay, what are you going to do? I didn't know that Meetup even charged organizers. So I was like, okay, here's the math. All I need women to do is pay me $5 or $20 a year, because Meetup charges me $19 a month. And if each member can pay annually what I get charged per month, and I do the numbers, I was like trying to figure out some formula, right? So I figured out the formula, and then I was like, okay, we can do that. And then I said, well, what's going to get them to the table to want to pay me a penny? And then what's going to keep them coming back? And I was like, okay, it's going to require me to be present. So then I was like, ooh, I didn't realize that I had to go deep in my inner work, whether it was really honestly the things that I had worked on prior to this business venture, or what was starting out to be a business venture, were going to be challenged and questioned. And challenge meaning you go to therapy, you grow as an individual, you professionally develop yourself. And some of that is theoretical, because you can sit in a training and you can read a book, but until you have a place, time, and space to apply it, you really don't know, right? And so I was like, now I can apply it, but rubber was meeting the road. And so now I was like, are you ready? Have you mastered some of those issues around thinking of the self-negative talk and the things that women have around self-worth? Because I had those things. I now was telling people about a business, selling myself, selling my business, my opportunity. People had never heard of me, let alone some HR girlfriends. And so that was my challenge. And then the other thing was, so now you get them to listen to you, to stop. Now what? And I sucked at sales. I remember having a gig with Robert Half prior to grad school, and that's actually was my catalyst for grad school. And so my division director was like, we got to let you go. You're amazing, Sanaa. You interview candidates like nobody else, but that's not what we pay you for. We actually pay you to bring business in, and you're not bringing business in. So that's the sales part. Get out of here. And I was like, oh, kick the ego, kick the pride. But that was going to be a part of my success. I had to sell people on me, on this opportunity. And I was like, no, I don't want to. And so I found that I was going to have to confront all of the things I was deficient in and up the ante on all the things I thought I was hot crap in. All the things I was like, yeah, I'm good at this. Are you really? Because it looked different, right? Mm-hmm. Being an amazing public speaker, standing in front of your leadership, talking to them about whatever's on the PowerPoint deck is a lot different than representing your own brand.
Facts.
The two cannot compare.
Agreed.
And so it just was really, really a challenge for me in a way that I said, you know what? I can either do it or not do it. And I was like, well, I'm here to play. And so I went hard so that I knew that if it didn't go well, at least I could say I put everything in it, because I didn't want to have regrets. I've always been that way. I didn't want to say, oh, I could have done better. I could have done more. I missed an opportunity to navigate this a lot more carefully. And I said, okay, you're going to go in and you're going to do this. But I did rely upon all of the things I learned in corporate America, because it counted. It did. Mm-hmm. I will not discount anything that I came to the table with. The lessons, the guidance, the mentorship, all of that counted. But now I had to have a new skill set. And I always tell people, when you're in corporate America and you think that entrepreneurship is the answer to your woes, I need you to reconsider that solution, because it is not the answer to your woes. Entrepreneurship should be your answer to your calling, not your woes. Answer your calling, not your woes. And I see that a lot, that people think, I hate my job, this sucks, or I want to work remote. And you know what? I'm just going to branch out on my own. Okay. Because when I got into business, I heard sayings like, entrepreneurship is the only gig that people quit a 40-hour for to go work 80.
Right. I always say it's the best professional development course, personal professional development course that you can ever take. And, I think part of the reason why people think like, oh, okay, I hate this, let me try this, and then, maybe, revert back or do something different is because that's how it's marketed. That's how entrepreneurship is marketed. Let's be honest, right? All of these marketers that, make it big in some whatever, they come back and they're like, all you got to do is this, right? Like, this is the one thing. If you do it, you're going to make millions and da 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 da, this and the third. And they don't tell the valley moments where, they couldn't pay their rent or, like they were eating ramen or whatever the case may be. They're not telling that. They're telling the story of what entrepreneurship looks like from the mountaintop, which we could all do that. But even when you're at the mountaintop, in entrepreneurship, you getting ready for a valley moment or else you're going to remain stagnant and become obsolete. So I love the fact that you share that. And so we've been talking about HR Girlfriends. We talked about the community. I mentioned that it was online. You did too. And now it's a consultancy. Tell the people, what is HR Girlfriends? If they're sitting here thinking like, okay, well, how do I be part of this? Like, what is it? Like, what are the components? Please share.
Absolutely, Sabine. And so HR Girlfriends is a community, just like you said, it's a movement, but our goal is to serve the personal and professional development needs of the women who have chosen human resources as their chosen career field. So whatever it takes for you to be whole, to feel whole, we're here to represent and to give you those resources and tools. I have a saying, you're more than your 9 to 5. And so our programming represents that. And so that's why we say your personal and professional development, because you don't come to HR Girlfriends just to get HR legal updates, although we give you that. We also are here to provide programming that's going to speak to the negative self-talk. And we're going to bring people who can help you better budget and finance, because guess what? If I'm going to help you negotiate better salary in one conversation, I also should help you master how to save that money so that you can live a better lifestyle and earn more money so that you can have generational wealth. It's really about helping women create a holistic approach to better lives. And how do you do that? You think about, where are we as women? What's around us? What's impacting us in our society? What happens to us on the job? And addressing that through activities, through speakers, through engagement opportunities, through technology. I'm a real tech guru. Like, I love technology. And I always joke, I go, no one looks at me and goes, yeah, that girl is an end user tech geek, but I am. And I love introducing technology as a solution to the women, because the more adept they are to technology, the more they're able to help solve problems that keep their business owners and leadership up at night. The more they understand the movement of artificial intelligence, right? Chat GPT, all those things, and how to get ahead of it. Everyone's excited about it, but HR Girlfriends has had AI technology resume building tools on our website for free for the last year and a half. On our website, we've had that already. So we like to stay ahead in those areas to help our women in membership stay ahead.
I love that. And you also, most recently, if I'm not mistaken, you've created programming because a lot of women have raised their hands and said, hey, I want to start a side hustle, or maybe I'm thinking about stepping into this. So tell us about the business building piece, right? So they get the holistic support while they're still in their corporate America or still in their corporate W-2 role. But for the ones who are like, oh, okay, I might want to do something different, what does that look like?
Absolutely. The one thing I know, and this definitely is so true for anyone who's working in human resources, we understand that no two people receive information the same. And so what I've done is try to diversify the means and mode of delivering information for people who desire to open up their own HR consultancies. Or let's just say you are an amazing HR practitioner, but you bake your butt off. And so I've met the most talented human resources professionals ever. Like in the middle of COVID, I had one of the HR professionals that I adore. She's out of Long Beach. She sews like nobody's business. I had her create from hand a custom mask for COVID. And then I sold them to members. I bought them from her and then I resold them to members. I mean, I love supporting other women's businesses, especially when they have unique talents. So my goal is, how do I help the women realize their dreams, right? So again, I want them to have fulfilled lives. And just because we connected over HR doesn't mean that's how we have to end, right? And so what's this journey we're going on together? And so while HR pays the bills, and while most of us will use HR as the catalyst for how we pay for the vacations and the education and all the other things, we may end up in very different places than we even thought we could. So while we're on this journey, we're going to do it together and I'm going to help you get there. And if entrepreneurship is for you, we're going to do those things. And so I have run group coaching sessions where we get together in small cohorts and I'm teaching you how I ran and started my successful consultancy, because it's not easy. And just like you said, most entrepreneurs don't pull back the curtains and tell you the raw. That's not me. I'm going to tell you how I failed miserably, how I was using my own resources, how I was scared to look at my own financials, P&L, profit and loss, my tail. I filed taxes every 2 years, every 3. I had to get my act together. I'm not going to shy away from that because one, the more we realize we're alike than different, that's where we start saying, okay, there's commonality. I am in a sisterhood. How can you help me and vice versa? But then the other thing is I need them to know that this isn't overnight, right? This is not, nothing you see is unattainable and unrealistic. You can get exactly what I have, right? But your version. And so that's what I do. And actually, I am running a session coming up tomorrow where we're teaching entrepreneurs on a Saturday about how to start their side hustle. And because that may be your dream. You may not ever want to leave HR fully. You may want to do your thing as a side hustle for the remainder. Well, let's do that together. Let me show you how to get that done.
Love it. Love it. So we can't talk about women in HR without actually talking about, what life looks like, right? And now at the time of this recording, HR has had it rough these last, 3 years now. And it just, it seems like it's not getting any better. Now, how they've been positioned and the work that they're doing, like that has expanded, like women in HR have held down the fort these last very, very trying years. But, there's still now recession and there's this and there's that. And it's like and when I say it's not getting better, it means like the burden is not lifting, right?
Mm-hmm.
I feel like it's only amplified, but at the same time, they've gained new muscles, right? At that. So as you're thinking about the women that you support, right, from a holistic perspective, where from those who are listening, who are in HR, this is for you, what are the opportunities that exist for them to get some reprieve and maybe even just celebrate themselves for all of the work that they've done over these last few years?
Yeah. Some things are about perspective and some things are about going out and getting what you deserve, seeking it out. If you're waiting for someone to recognize you, honor you, carve out space for you, hold space for you, you may be waiting, ... And so it really is, this is every opportunity in your career that you get to step away and reflect, take it. And so I think we have had it tough. COVID was the hugest blow to the HR community. We were hanging on by the seat of our pants. I mean, we were administering laws that weren't even in effect. I mean, envision that, right? Watching CNN and the lawmakers and going, it's not a law, but we're prepping, and you do what again? And so we think about how trying that was and how trying just our everyday is. And I say this, when you are in a challenging career like human resources, you've got to figure out how to identify moments of reward, how to take time to reflect, but also where's your outlet, right? And so, where's your self care routine? Where do you identify opportunities to pour into yourself? One of my favorite life coaches, Iyanla Van Zandt, always says, what's in my cup is for me, and what flows over and out is for you, right? Most of us are like tipping our cup over, giving people what we don't even have.
The
That's
last
the first
drop.
problem, right? It's like we don't even allow the overflow. We're giving them what belongs to us, what should be staying with us. So we need to be evaluating, well, what is our strategy for how we care for ourselves, right? How we maintain ourselves. And so I've done that a lot. I mean, I remember there was 6 months while I was working full time for a nonprofit as director of HR and running HR Girlfriends. I had a mental health breakdown. I left HR Girlfriends like abruptly. And I don't even know, I'm sure people noticed, but I didn't care. I couldn't care. I was drowning. I was drowning. My work at work was suffering. My work at HR Girlfriends was suffering. And I didn't know what to do. And I also didn't have a mentor in business. I didn't have a mentor in work. And I wasn't too prideful to ask. I just didn't know where to start. I didn't know what to do. No one that looked like me, a woman of color, was running a business remotely like mine. So I wasn't sure who I would even tap. So I had all these complexities happening around me, and I was stressed out. And coming from a history of depression and anxiety, I knew that if I didn't step away, it was going to get a lot worse before it got better.
Mhm.
And so, I always tell the women in no particular order, you need a career coach and a therapist. That's it. And I want you to pulse in and pulse out. That should be a part of your process at all times until you no longer are breathing. That means you're not here. Therapist and career coach. And when you get in business, then that's a career/business coach. I've had to hire a business coach to guide me, right? I can't do this on my own. It's
Right.
just the truth of it all.
Yeah. I say that to people all the time. It's just like there's no one that you look at and admire because they're quote unquote successful, whether it's an athlete, a comedian, star, whatever. Like none of them are doing this on their own. Like they have an entire team. And people like to believe that, oh, they only have a team or they're only able to hire a team because they're at where they're at. And I'm like, no, 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 no. They wouldn't even get where they're at if they didn't first have a team. You just didn't know that, in the background, there were people who were supporting them, uplifting them, encouraging them, motivating them to get to this place. And then now that they're at this place, yes, they may have a more visible team that you can see. But, thinking back when I was in corporate America, I mean, I always was raising my hands for professional development, but would I have ever, thought to shell out thousands of dollars in the year for someone to like guide me in my career? No, because that just wasn't my mindset. And I didn't understand the impact of coaching. It wasn't until I got a coach, and that was part of like my transition into entrepreneurship, that I was just like, oh, this is what coaching really is. Now, mind you, I was already interested in coaching, but I had my own doubts and whatnot. But yeah, I think it's a powerful tool and powerful resource to gift to yourself. Same thing with therapy, right? Within the last couple of years, we've been a lot more open to having that conversation around who has a therapist and who doesn't. But 10 years ago, people could have been in therapy. You would never know, right?
Nope.
You would never know what that experience is like. So, for those of you who are listening, who are thinking to yourself, like, okay, I have one, but not the other, or maybe maybe I need to look into this. The point is, it's not necessarily if you're at a place where you're good or you just started somewhere. Think about it from the perspective of you are building your team. And I like to talk about the success circle. And so your success circle includes your mentors, it includes your peers, it includes a coach, it includes, a super connector, right? Someone who can help you navigate and give you all the answers or connect you to the people that you need to. So thinking about, okay, if I want to advance in my career or if I want to build this legacy or whatever it is that you're looking to build, who do I now need around me, and to start building those relationships, because as much as they like to advertise it, the self-made millionaire, guess what? No one is a self-made millionaire. And you definitely won't get there on your own because there's so much we don't know. There's so much we don't know.
On your own is very subjective, right? Tell me what on your own really means. It's funny. I love Gary Vee, the entrepreneur. If you can stand the cuss words and can get past that, he's an awesome truth teller around entrepreneurship and what it takes to really be successful. But I want to really talk to the women of HR, and I really want to say this, that we come from an industry where we are accustomed to our employers paying for our development. We are accustomed to them investing in us. But let me tell you this, if your worth is valued at 5,250 cap, Houston, we have a problem. If that's where your value is annually for how you grow and develop and flourish and what you will and won't entertain, that's a problem. I meet lots of women all the time. That's a part of my job. And that's what I find. They won't go get certified because, oh my God, out of pocket. They won't go get the career coach. Oh my God, out of pocket. They won't pay for a resume preparer. Oh my God, out of pocket. Let me tell you something. No one is responsible for your success but you. No one's responsible for you but you. So when you're getting these same results and you're repeating those same results to us in groups that we're all subjected to watch your crying in feeds, right? And I'm here for you. I am one of the most empathetic people ever, but I'm seeing some of the same people repeat that they're getting the same results. It's time you do something different.
Yep. Not the definition of insanity, doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. Yeah,
absolutely. And that's what we have to do. You've got to stop having your investment be tied to your employer's IRS tax limit. It doesn't make sense. I hope you're giggling to yourself right now.
I love that you put it that way, because that really does put it into perspective that, people would limit themselves based on their employers. Oh my gosh, just hearing it, I'm like, oh my gosh, that makes so much sense.
It's crazy.
Or it doesn't make sense, I should say. It probably doesn't.
It makes sense, right? For where the limitations come from, but it doesn't make sense why we do it. And women make up almost 90+% of human resources. And then we also talk about why we're not furthering ourselves, and that we should be smashing HR. We should be killing it in our career. We dominate the field.
Yeah.
It makes sense. We are our only competition.
Yeah. But the messaging also too in HR, and I believe it's still the same, right? It was almost like the business could spend, you're a cost center, so you're limited, right? And right or wrong, but I think those are the seeds that people walk into or people live out as truth, whether or not it's true, right? But that's what they live out as truth. And so when you talk to HR individuals and they're like, oh, you got to invest in yourself, and that immediate but I can't, I'm a cost center, I can't ask for the money and they don't have it and we're not a business and all of these things wrapped up. True or not true?
Are you a cost center to yourself? Because what I'm saying is, take the money that your employer has set aside for you, but you've got to self-invest. Like you don't limit yourself from going to Spain or Miami or wherever else it is, or you don't stop yourself from buying red bottoms, having any of those other experiences, right?
Sure.
Because of other limitations. You're out here asking for more money. You're getting all of this advice from your peers about how to get more money, how to get more. But what are you doing with the excess? Tell me what you're doing with the more, right? Are you asking for more money so that you can do something with it, like build generational wealth, invest in yourself? What are you doing with the more? Are you asking for more just so you can say you are making more? Are you investing in yourself around business, tell me what you're doing with the more. We have to be intentional about our movements. You have to be. If you're moving through your career haphazardly and you're not thinking short-term, long-term, mid-term, it's not going to work. You're going to be exactly where you are. Wherever you are, if you feel lost, unhappy, discombobulated, unfulfilled, let's pick an adjective. Come on, guys. Look. Say it with me now. Whatever adjective you're coming up with, whatever you're feeling, I bet you that if I were to ask you, okay, how much of your career were you intentional about? What went into the selection of the job you're in? I bet you it wasn't because you were intentional. And that's what I'm trying to tell more of the women to do. And it doesn't take a lot, but it does require you. You are required to show up, to be present, and to focus. And then once you get on the path, it may feel like work up front, but it really then becomes, this is a part of your process. First and second nature. You're rocking and rolling. You could do it in your sleep. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. This is you. This is your process, not mine. I don't care if you don't make more money or if you are credentialed and seen as a game changer in your company and a mover and a shaker. It's not going to change my position, but it'll change yours.
Right. Sanà, I can continue to talk to you forever. I
know.
But I want to be respectful of your time here. And so just going into the Blitz session really quick here. So 3 questions for you. Knowing what you know now, right? And looking back at your journey, if you could go back to a younger version of yourself and give her a piece of advice, what might you tell her?
I would tell her that you are the opposite of everything that you think you're not. You're the opposite. And just hold on and just sit still. You're fine. It's going to be okay. Right? Like it'll all work out. I would tell her that. And honestly, yeah, I would.
Love that. Thank you. And as you look ahead, right? And I do believe that every day we are essentially building our legacy, but looking forward, decades from now, and you're looking back, what is that legacy? What is that thing that you're going to look back on and say, you know what? Yep, I did that. And I'm proud.
I always say that we're responsible for our side of the street. And my side of the street is being kind and empathetic to as many people as I encounter, giving the best version of myself to everyone. So, it's just taking care of people in the best way I can. So whatever that looks like for whatever you need from me, based on whatever I have for you. So yeah, I don't know. Yeah. These are some deep thought questions. I'm like, geez. I mean, I'm not Jesus, but
right.
There's some things I bring to the table. Yeah.
I love it. And then lastly, as people have been listening, they want to connect, they want to learn more about HR Girlfriends. Where can they connect with you? Where can they connect more with the community?
Absolutely. So if you're on LinkedIn, you can find me. Last name is Walker. First name Sanà. So you can just type me in on LinkedIn. I accept all requests, even without pictures. And hrgirlfriends.com is where you can find all of the information you need, whether you are looking to individually connect with a community of like-minded human resources professionals, and that we accept you no matter where you are in the world. We love to have you connect with us. Or if you're looking for us to come and serve your business, from everything from HR compliance to compensation consulting to diversity, equity, and inclusion. We are all things human resources.
I love it. I love it. And we will be sure to include all of those links in the show notes. So be sure to connect, be sure to reach out. And, if you do connect on LinkedIn, also join the group. I think it's like 20,000 plus HR professionals.
Almost
women.
25 now. Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. And they're always someone willing to answer your question or to lead you to a resource. So definitely a very, very supportive community of HR professionals there. So with that, Sanà, thank you so much for coming on, sharing your journey, sharing your wisdom, inspiring us in the audience to really, examine how we're investing in us and where we want to invest in us so that we can continue to grow and continue to make the impact that we are making. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. And I hope your audience listening knows how amazing what you're doing, bringing to light so many awesome folks within your sphere of influence. So keep doing what you're doing.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Well, we will be back next week with another amazing female leader. Please feel free to check out the show notes for all the links. Also, if you have comments, questions, or suggestions, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. I'm happy to answer those. With that, have a great rest of the week. Take care. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of She Leads Now. If you found today's episode helpful or got a piece of insight that you plan to implement in your business or organization, I would love to hear from you. Connect with me on LinkedIn at Sabine Gideon, that's my handle, and send me a private message. Or feel free to go ahead and leave a review on either Apple or Spotify. I also invite you to share this episode with anyone in your network who you think might benefit from this content. Lastly, be sure to check the show notes and the description below for links to resources, including relevant downloads, articles, and any upcoming training. Until we chat again, have a blessed and powerful week.